against them.
Member's time has expired. I call Jan Logie.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I'm pleased to rise and take a call on this, the third reading of the Victims' Orders Against Violent Offenders Bill, which the Green Party are very pleased to support. As has already been mentioned, this bill was developed in response to plight of a woman in Invercargill, where her rapist moved in next door to her after he was released from prison and had his friends regularly harass her and make her life unbearable. And when the police went to visit this man and suggested that he move and give her some freedom and peace, this man who'd been convicted of rape declined. And there was nothing that the police or that woman could do. And that clearly was unjust and cruel. So it is wonderful to see this legislation in front of the House tonight to make sure that that situation does not happen again. And we have heard from Kim McGregor that there are many cases of this happening around the country, and mostly we never hear of them. So this, I hope, will bring relief to women, primarily, I'm sure, around the country in the future, and I thank the government for that. I do want to raise a few areas that I think we need to be mindful of in the future in terms of the implementation of this and watching how it goes, and that this will require, if there is a breach when this order has been put in place, that it will require the courts, the police to act on that breach, and for the courts in turn to rule on that breach and convict somebody for it. And it is a very real concern at the moment that we are seeing in a domestic violence situation when there are non-contact orders, that the police have been taking cases to the court for what is the courts have then deemed minor breaches, and have been telling the police off in instances, I've been told, for bringing such minor things to court and throwing that back out, which means the police are becoming, in some places, less likely to actually charge somebody with what is considered a minor breach. And the problem with that is that the abusers breach for many reasons, and often one of the reasons is to test if they can get away with it, if they can break those barriers and have access to those women. And that we've seen in the tragic situation in Dunedin, where there had been breaches that were not convicted and then children were killed as a result. And we don't have the safety nets and the systems in place at the moment to ensure that everyone within our police and court system understands domestic violence enough to ensure that we have standardised responses and protections. And our system, the Glen inquiry, has reinforced what we're hearing in the communities, is that the system is failing. And I really hope that this won't be another example of that. And this primarily will be used for domestic or sexual violence. And I do also want to raise another concern, is that this can be used once there is a conviction. But we know that only 1 in 100 cases of sexual violence is currently resulting in a conviction in our courts in this country. And that is not justice, and no one of those 99 people will be able to access this order unless they can get a conviction in our courts. And the recent data I've had back from the government around domestic violence also shows that there's only an 18% reporting rate to the police, and then around a 40% on average rate of charging, so it's less than 50% of call-outs to the police result in a charge by the police. And then the convictions in our courts, depending on the area in the country, is as low as 38%. conviction rates for offences relating to domestic violence. Our system is absolutely failing to protect our most vulnerable people, and we can't tick off the safety with this bill, sadly.
I call Tim McIndoe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I'm sure that all members of this House feel total compassion for those